Good afternoon, tubers of the RC universe. Welcome to RC Heli Check for what is a very different environment for you to see me in today. We are in my workshop at home and we are going to be looking at winterization of a model. Basically, summer has come to an end, so what I like to do to all of my helicopters over the winter period is basically strip them down, go over everything and make sure that all is okay, and then put them back together. And we are going to use this model here today as the example. This is my MD500. I've had issues with this model. If you look back on some of the videos, you'll see there was one that was entitled the death wobble. We have now found out what the death wobble is caused by, and it is these, the blades, and I'll show you why. If you look, get the helicopter sitting straight, look at that. Look at the flex on those blades. Yeah, that is literally what is causing that fuselage to do the old wibbly. And I think what I'm looking at doing is, like I say, I'm going to strip this helicopter down completely. I will be removing these blades. I haven't got them yet, but I'm going to be fitting them with a set of the NHP blades, the same size actually as the ones that are on the long range helicopter. They're a lot stiffer blade, they're a lot stiffer a blade, and they will not flex, they will not bend in flight. And talking to a few guys, we've come to the conclusion there's got to be that flex that's making the no brainer, you know what I mean? So I won't be chucking them away. They might be able to come and use for something else, but for now we're going to be removing them. They won't be going back on the helicopter. When I've rebuilt the helicopter and put it all back together again, once it's ready to go, probably next week, I'll be fitting them with those new blades, and we should hopefully see a drastic improvement in the way that the helicopter flies. So anyway, let's get started, guys. Right guys, excuse me, I'm going to start off first by removing the blades. Alright, so take the blades off, because it's blatantly obvious that these are what are causing that wobble issue, like I say, which is a shame because they're nice blades, they're not that bad, but they're too flexible. I think they're called spin blades actually, I think that's what they call them, spin blades. Yeah. Well, all blades spin, don't they, really? So any blade could be called a spin blade, really. But yeah, I think the manufacturer of these are spin blades. So I've heard a few people say like they're okay, they're scale looking, but they're semi-symmetrical blades. They're not actually symmetrical ones, which means that there are, come on out you bugger, means that they're like, I think they're made of fiberglass. I don't think they're made of carbon fibre. I think if they were carbon fibre there wouldn't be that much flex in them. But yeah, they're definitely you know, they're definitely the issue, which is a shame, like I say, because they are decent blades. But I might be able to find a use for them somewhere else, or I may end up just selling them, really. I mean, if I'm not going to use them on a scale helicopter, then I'll probably just sell them. I'll just stab my F-16 then. Blade swung round and stabbed it. But yeah, point of this today is, like I say, we're going to be doing maintenance on this model for the winter. I can't believe that's just happened. I've just dropped my nut. That's just gone straight into the straight into here somewhere. Ow! There goes the camera. I'll find it in a minute when I take the blades apart. I have to make sure I find that. But yeah, it's just like I say, it's a winter, end of summer season. It's just a check over on the model, make sure that everything's all okay. retightening the bolts, checking bearings, that kind of thing. And then obviously if there's anything that needs to be replaced, then that will be done. But hopefully it's not a bad model. The 550X by a line is a pretty good kit, pretty good set of mechanics, so I don't think it'll need that much doing to it. What a moron. Yeah, I don't think it'll need that much doing to it, but we'll soon see. Right, that's the blades off. Get them out of the way. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to take the mechanics out. For me to do that, I need to remove that, and then I'm going to have to disconnect the lights from the flybaler system, because when I pull the mechanics out, obviously the lights are going to come with it, which I don't want. So I need to find a plug for that. But I need the I think I've just unplugged them. Okay, maybe not. Where did they go? Yeah, I did. I've just unplugged them. Bugger. Okay, didn't want to do that. So yeah, get that off. That goes on the front of the helicopter to make the C or G as it needs to be to fly this. See that? You're probably thinking, what's that? It's a 707. Huge project. So yeah, now we have got to try and get to that screw in the back of there, and I know for a fact, if I remember rightly, it's a pain in the butt. You need a stumpy screwdriver. So I'll see if I can figure out how I'm going to get to that. I may have to take the doors out or doors off to get to it, which is a pain really, because I don't think I can get a long screwdriver down at the top of the doghouse there to get to it. I haven't got one long enough, I don't think. Let's have a look. Nope, that's not going to work. I need my little stumpy. Right, bear with me guys. Right guys, I've got the two screws at the back undone and removed, so when it comes to taking the mechanics out, then I'll be able to just undo the front two and pull it out. But before I do that, obviously I've got to remove the tail rotor, because without the tail rotor being moved, it won't go through. Because so I'm going to take that off. These are held in by two screws. The two screws hold the fin in place. As you can see, it's starting to get wibbly. I need to address this fin as well, because I noticed the other day when I flew it, it was the top bit here was all skew whiff, and I think it's starting to come loose, and it's only held in, as you can see at the top, by a pair of screws. Balls. Get off. Where's my clip? Oh, I've not got my clip. Okay, that's a disaster. I thought I'd got a little clip in there to undo that. Clearly not. It's a pain in the... Right, see if I can get this off as it is. It should just pull straight out this. There we go. Because that there, that little bracket, basically goes in through there and it creates a notch. And there's a tiny little hole, as you can see there, that this then sits in, and it stops the tail rotor from moving around. So right, now I've got that out, carefully manoeuvring, get these washers off so I don't lose them, because knowing me, I will. Put them there, and then put no, really. No, screw it all the way. Nope, that's stuck hard. Okay. Instead of unthreading it, just pull the washers off so I don't lose them, like I nearly did. Right. Now we'll rotate it back round because it is heavy. Oh my god, it's oh, right, just hang that down there. You watch that back light get busted and disconnect now. Right, so what do I need? Screwdriver. That one. Go and do that. It's been that long since I took these mechanics out. In fact, yeah, I took them out once. It's been that long since I did it. I can't remember if there's anything actually connected to the helicopter that's connected to the fuselage or not allow me to remove it. Like I say, I know the lights. I think, is that the light one? Yeah, I think that's the light one there. Yeah, it is. That's got to come undone. That goes to the ESC programmer, which is connected to the helicopter anyway. Right. That's all I do that. That should now be loose. And it is. So, hopefully, we should just make sure that that goes over there. Hey, take the plug. See, plug. I was right. Okay, let's put that there for a sec. Right, these should now just pull straight out. Come on. There we go. Right, we'll place the fuselage on the floor for now, just so it doesn't get knocked about, because we don't need that anymore for now. Oops, there's a window there, Rob. Put that down there as well. In fact, we'll sit that on there. It's the first time anybody has seen inside this workshop, guys. You're getting privileged rights here, because nobody normally comes in here at all. Right, so we've got the mechanics out. 50X mechanics, and they have a 600 size boom on to give it the length that it needs. Because I think the 550X blade boom is a little bit shorter, so the 600 boom is used to get the extra length, she said, that you need. Right, so basically what we are going to do now is just quickly look over everything as it is and see if we can actually see anything at all that stands out. And looking at what I can see at the moment, it doesn't appear to be any damage. We're looking for damage to the gearing and that kind of thing, making sure that there's no damage on that. The tail rotor gears, I can see are in shape, in place and okay, but it makes no difference because we are basically we're going to be reducing this back down to kit form. Okay guys, it's the only way. You can't just look over it like I just did and go, yeah, that's okay. You need to physically go over everything, and unfortunately it means stripping the helicopter down. The good thing about these helicopters is that they can have that done. You can't do that with a model plane, not to a degree. So we will be stripping the whole thing down, and basically that way we can get to everything and make sure everything is all good. So I'm going to stick you in time-lapse mode, guys, and strip it. See you in a bit. Right guys, got the helicopter spread out now over the main pieces. I've got a friend. Boom removed, tail rotor removed, rotor head removed, main frame now as that is there. Most of the screws I will put into a container, so they're what I call my common screws. So side frame screws and whatnot all tend to be the same. But there's specific size screws that go in certain places for certain things, like this anti-rotation bracket. It uses 2 different types of screws. I usually take them out and put them in the bracket or wherever they've got to go. That way at least I know what goes for what screw. Now, looking at this already, taking into account this has been bought second hand, I found something that I've spotted for the first time, and to be honest with you, I don't like it. Can you see that there? Look, see how the pitch servo, the elevator servo, has been mounted. We've got a bolt going right the way through from the servo through a lock nut, another lock nut, another lock nut. So I've got 3 lock nuts holding this servo in place. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's doing its job, but it's not something I would like to do. So I'll be addressing that and changing that, because like I say, that is not how a servo should be mounted. I mean, the other ones are mounted on the side frames as they should be, but I think there should be some blocks in there that the bolts go through, and I need to, like I say, I need to look at that, because I don't like that at all, one bit. Right, I'm going to take all the servos out and I'll get back to you when they are done. Right, we've moved no, we've not moved them, we've took the servos out of the mechanics. All we are left with now is pretty much the basic frame. We've got the motor to take out, and then the unscrewing of the main gear Jesus bolt to remove the shaft, and then we will only have the side frames left, which we can leave as they are. We can inspect them as they are. We shouldn't need to take those off, so just going to take the motor out, and then done. Right guys, we've got everything out now. We're on the main been one of them days today. We've got everything out of the main frame. What you want to do, even though it's carbon fibre and carbon fibre is pretty strong, you still need to check to see if there's any damage to it at all. Usually, like, you can see stress cracks forming, that kind of thing. Because the undercarriage is not connected directly to this, then there should be no reason for there to be any stress cracks at all where the undercarriage goes, because this is mounted onto the frame of the fuselage. But check it over anyway. You should be able to see where there's any cracks or anything. The main bearing houses, the housings, and the main bearing, they're in good shape as well. There's no cracks in them at all. Check to see if there's any cracks. Put the right glasses on so you can see what you're doing. There we go. Check the bearing mounts, make sure that there's no cracks in those at all, and that they're all okay, which they are. And then remove any bits and pieces that you don't want. In this case, this later. And you know, it's a good time to clean this up if you need to clean it up at all and whatnot. So that's all good to go. Now we've got your main gear as well. You need to check over your main gear to make sure that there's no damage to it at all. You can look along the edges to see if all the teeth are in place. Make sure that there's no damage to the actual gear itself, and also to see if there's any cracks or anything, hairline cracks that may occur. If you flex it slightly, it'll show. In this case, this is pretty solid. There's nothing wrong with this. It's got written on the actual gear drive M1/112T, which is 112 tooth main gear, and it is got for the 600E and the 550E. So this is actually used in 2 different helicopter sizes. People think the bearings are all little tiny bores, but they're not. These are long to there, but that's okay. And then do the same with the main gear. the tail rotor gear, there's a shim in there. Make sure you don't lose the shim, because that is what spaces out the main gear and the tail rotor gear. I've just put that in something, it's alright, I don't know what it is. But do the same with that. Go around all the teeth, check to make sure that all the teeth are okay, there's no damage on them at all, and that the actual shaft section where the main shaft goes through, there's no damage to that. And again, try and flex it a bit, you'll see if there's any cracks in there, they'll show up, and in this case there's nothing at all. So that's all good to go too. And then have a look at the actual shaft that goes through the bearing. If you look, you can see just around there where it's shinier than the rest of it, that's where it runs around the bearings. But that's in good shape. We'll need to put some oil around that when we put that back in to make it nice and smooth. So yeah, they're all good to go. One thing that did concern me when I looked at this, the motor, checking the gearing on the motor, the pinion gearing, that's all okay. The mount itself is okay, being steel, it wouldn't make no difference. But look at that, see that there, look, the top of the motor has got scoring on it. I don't know whether that has occurred on this helicopter, or whether it's a motor from another helicopter and it occurred on there, or what, I don't know. But I'll need to have a look at that when I mount it back into the frame, and to make sure that it's not actually rubbing on something, because that has clearly been rubbing on something on the helicopter when it's been rotating around. It's not deep, it's just took the paint off, but you can feel the scratches on there, so it looks like it's been metal to metal contact. I don't know, can you hear that? That's definitely metal to metal contact on there that's caused that. So that is one thing I'll need to address when I put the motor back in, is to see that if it's actually touching something, and then rectify that. Right, another thing that we can look at is your tail boom. Now that you've taken the tail boom out, you can inspect the gearing and the main actual torque tube. Now, if you rotate the gears around, you should be able to see if there's any damage on the actual section that goes into the gears, which there isn't. But also, if it was bent, you'll see it moving like that. If it was slightly bent, very minimal, you know. But on this case, it's not. It's moving around really nice and smooth. And then we can rotate it around the other side and have a look at the main gears going to the tail rotor. You can give them a good inspection as well, rotate them around, make sure that the gearings are all meshing nicely, and in this case they are. There's no damage to any of the teeth, and they're all there, so that's all good to go as well. So that being so this bit, right, this is your tail rotor and tail rotor gearbox. You can inspect your tail rotor gearbox while it's all together, and make sure that again there's no damage to any of the teeth. In this case there is none, and it rotates around nice and freely. Check the actual gearing inside, you'll be able to see inside there is a cross, which is what the end of the torque tube goes into. That's all okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. So now what we need to do is basically go around the whole of the helicopter, sorry, the whole of the, and that's the wrong one, no, that yeah, there we go, 2mm drive and 1.5mm drive. Go around all the screws, make sure that they're all nice and tight, they're not loose. Check every screw over completely and make sure there is anywhere where this can actually come undone. And once you're happy and everything is all nice and tight, then you can put it to one side and go on to the next thing. As in this case, it appears that everything's all nice and tight still. You don't want to undo them, you just want to make sure that they're not loose, and that everything is all good. And in this case, like I say, it is. One thing that you want to pay particular attention to is this grub screw, which connects to the shaft. If that grub screw comes loose, then the chances are your tail rotor is going to wee. So make sure that that is nice and tight. In this case, it is good. You can check your tail blades later on when you put them back on the helicopter, so there's no need to worry about those too much. But in this case, everything is looking good and there are no problems. If you do get a loose screw, how many times have I heard that? Then back it out, get some thread lock, put the thread lock on it and screw it back in again. Which thread lock you use depends on how it is. Like in something like this here, it's not something that we're going to need to take up too much. I would use probably red thread lock on these here. I would use blue thread lock on the gear, on that one. I'd use blue thread lock on that. It will be enough to hold it in place, but it'll also be able to be backed out if you need to take the tail rotor apart. But again, that's all good. And then we'll go to the rest of the helicopter bit. That one. This is the same thing. Go through the same process. Check all the screws. Make sure that everything is all nice and tight, and that there is no way that any of the screws can come undone. If you do find a loose screw, again, hit it with some thread lock and put the screw back in place. So I'll check that over now, and then once that's checked over, we should be able to start putting the helicopter back together again. So I'll be back with you in a bit, guys. Right, we have all the bits here now that we are going to assemble. I've put the main shaft into the I put the main shaft into the main rotor head. There's a shim, if you can see there, on the end of the shaft. That is to make sure that when it is mounted into the main frame, you've got no movement like that. It basically stops that movement. So we've got the rotor head all ready to go and the main shaft fitted. We've got the two bearings which we'll place into the bearing mounts on the fuselage, onto the main frame. And then once that's done, we can fit the main gear drive and the tail gear drive through into the bottom, and then feed the geyser bolt through, and that'll be all that bit sorted out and ready to go. So for you, you're going lapsy-timey mode. Right, as you can see, we are coming together rather nicely. We have the rotor head, main shaft, and main gear and tail gear drives fitted. I've also fitted the elevator servo in just for ease of the anti-rotation bracket and the anti-rotation pin going through. So we are getting closer to being done. Next, I'm going to install the motor, and I am then going to install the tail boom, and that way then I want to see if I can figure out what's going on with this here, so I can find out if there is something catching this or not. So anyway, I'll get that and I'll be back. Right, as you can see, I've got the motor installed, and that is where the bottom plate sits, and there is no way in Satan's sphincter is that motor catching anything. So it must have been done when mounted in another helicopter, because like I say, there's that much clearance there and there was nothing underneath before I took it apart. So anyway, all is good there. I'm now going to fit the electronic speed controller to this here, to these motor wires, so I know that that is all connected. Then I can put the bottom plate back on and go from there, guys. So I will be back to you when that is all sorted. Okay, we now have the escapade fitted and all plugged in to the motor, and as like I say, you can see there, once I move the spaghetti out of the way, there is plenty of clearance between the bottom of the can of the motor, or the top of the can of the motor, and the undercarriage plate. So there is no way that that is touching. Yes, we've got a hodgepodge of ethnicity regarding the wiring at the moment, but once the servos are all fitted, then I'll be able to direct all the wires through the main frame away from the main gear, to the flight controller, the flybarless controller, which will be going at the front. And then it is just a case of fitting the boom, and that's it. So I'm going to put the rest of the servos in, get those fitted, and then put the boom on, and I will come back again once those are done. And there we have it, guys. That is an end of season breakdown, check over and rebuild of the mechanics for my Hughes 500 MD 500 helicopter. All I've got left to do now is install the mechanics back into the helicopter once I've connected all the spaghetti to the flybarless system, and then once I've fit the mechanics in, I can then fit the tail rotor to the tail boom at the back. So yeah, that's it. That is basically it. I mean, I've got to do that to the rest of my helicopters over the next sort of like few months over the winter period. But that is basically it. Stripping down a helicopter, checking it over, making sure everything's all good, and then rebuilding it again. The question is now that that's finished, look, yeah, I have got hair. It's the first time you see me wearing it without a cap. Question is now, what am I going to do with this? This is the fuselage from 6 million years BC. It is in its original colour scheme from the factory. And I'm thinking, I don't know, I mean, because it's still in good nick, there's not a lot wrong with it. But I'm actually thinking, should we change the colour scheme? Should we change what it looks like? Should we put it in a different colour? What do you reckon, guys? Let me know in the comments below. And if you think that we should leave it as it is, or change it into a different colour scheme, then let me know. And then I'll decide on what you'd think. If you think it's a yay, we'll change it. If you think it's a nay, then we will leave it as it is. But that's it for this one, guys. It's a short one, just a quick sort of like show how of what we're doing. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Click the old like, subscribe, and the notification ding-a-ling for more content like this. We've got something rather special coming up in the next video, guys. I've got a new helicopter that I'm going to be reviewing, and it's another one to go with our budget way of getting into helicopters. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time on the channel. Bye.